Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Women's Soccer Show. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Allie.
And we've got a lot on the docket today. We've got the Willie Kirk article we're going to get into first and foremost. FA Cup, got a brand new victor there. NWSL and WSL preview of the final weekend of the Barclays WSL, not the BWSL, the final time I get to say that in this 2023 to 2024 season. How are you doing, Allie?
I'm doing very well. I was just saying to you that I got to hang out with some peeps for the FA Cup final. It was quite funny because I had two City fans who were cheering on Spurs. I had a actual Man United fan, and then there was me who was cheering on Man United because Spurs can't win anything. And
you just wanted to be on the winning side.
I've been cheering on Man United. And then to the point that even my mother texts me going, "It's really weird to be supporting Man United, but we're doing it for Mary Earps." Because my mum is in love with Mary Earps. So
who isn't?
Exactly. Who isn't?
Okay, from a fun topic to a not fun topic, we're going to kick it off. That's a bad way to advertise it. Listen, if you didn't read the Willie Kirk article, we did, so you don't have to, as the kids say. So let's get into that first. And I know, Allie, you have a lot of thoughts on this, but let's first and foremost give some context as to why in the world there is a Willie Kirk article. So, Allie, who is Willie Kirk and why is he out here defending himself?
So, Willie Kirk is a seasoned women's football manager, has managed multiple teams, been assistant manager at United under Casey Stoney, was at Everton for a time, and then was at Leicester for a time, and then he got unceremoniously, let's be honest, fired from Leicester as it became evident that he was having a relationship with a player, which goes against all sorts of code of conduct rules. And
as he points out, ones that he made as well.
Yeah, so he really should have known. So he got fired. He's been quiet for a little while, and now he's back with a vengeance with this article in the Daily Mail, which my UK listeners will understand why I have so much derision for.
Even we know in the US why the Daily Mail is such a problem. But let's get into it because there's a lot of bones to pick here, and I'm going to start off with the most petty one because I'm in the petty mood right now. So the Daily Mail literally sat down with Willie Kirk and did this article live. So a lot of this is direct quotes from him, and accompanying that are photographs of him during this interview in which he's wearing jeans and no shoes. You can see his bare feet in all of these photos. And I just have a really big problem with that. I think it's really gross.
Oh, what I want to start with. Yeah, no, I have a problem with all of the photos. I'm going to be honest, because you look at these photos, he's got his head in his hands and he's staring mournfully into the mirror. It's really trying to make him sympathetic. It's trying to make him appear to be the victim almost with these photos, because they're just making him out to be just this stand-up guy who got caught out doing a thing.
I'm going to relate this to something that is definitely going to give me away. But if you understand this reference, it's going to give you away as well. If you are a Vanderpump Rules on Bravo reality show fan, yeah, that's probably for my US listeners, it's very much reminiscent of Scandival in the sense that I texted you this, Allie. I can summarize this entire article in half of a sentence, and that is, quote, "I know it's wrong, but..." and then fill in the blank right there. And that is my number one overarching problem with it. But let's get into the weeds, because you put out a great tweet basically doing exactly this. We were like, I read this article, here's a summary, don't go and give them the clicks. And you summarized a lot of things, and I know this really rubbed you the wrong way. It rubbed me the wrong way, but I want to hear your thoughts first.
Yeah, so it really rubbed me. So first off, the pull quote. The pull quote really annoyed me because it says, the pull quote is, "It's on me, it's my fault." So you think you're lulled into this false sense of security.
They played you like a violin.
Yeah, that he is going to take responsibility for his actions. When you read the actual article, he takes no responsibility at all for his actions. It's the player came onto him. He turned down the player 3 times before he finally gave in.
Yeah.
They went on holiday together. The only
that
reason...
part really bothered me, by the way. I was pursued over and over, and then I finally caved. I tried so hard to do the right thing, but it was impossible. Like, that's the feeling I was getting from it. Yeah.
Yeah. That they were going to stop and then they didn't. And the only reason it came out is because another team found out when they were playing and reported it to both Leicester and the FA, which is why he suddenly got booted. But there is no accountability. The whole thing is supposed to be him taking a stand and realising what he's done wrong, but he doesn't think he's done anything wrong. And even if he does think he's done anything wrong, he says it's a minor mistake and he shouldn't lose his career over it, and that he did so much for Leicester and he got them out of relegation the season before that they owe him a little bit of grace. This is not like, oh, I stole some stationery from the office, or, you know, I've done something financially. This is a huge safeguarding issue.
Yeah, to me, this reeked of, like, he was trying to walk this line, and I think he thinks that he put out this article that made him seem like he's recognizing that he did something wrong. But instead, what this reads as, he's out here saying, I know this was wrong, but I can't believe these ramifications happened. That's how it reads. And that's very entitled. He's basically, you know, he was even asked, do you feel like they're making an example of you? He was like, no. But then he was like, but I feel like, you know, I've built this reputation over 14 years and this one mistake shouldn't determine everything in my future. It's always a but. It's like, yes, I did something wrong, but can you believe these ramifications? And it's like, well, yeah, because you did something wrong.
Yeah. And so my second thing, and this is what I think is, it's dangerous reporting, and it was dangerous from Willie Kirk, is if you read the article, he talks about how this player came onto him and then, in his words, and then she got injured, so that's when he gave in. The problem is they give timelines of when she got injured, because he says about Christmas she was injured, so I decided to go for it. You can easily work out which player they are talking about from that information. There is 4 players that were injured around that time. One player's dad has already had to come out and go, it's not my daughter, leave my daughter alone. So Shannon O'Brien's dad has had to come out. I retweeted what he said.
Nobody should go after any of the players. This is like, no. This is why everybody's trying to make this banned, you know, essentially illegal within the world of women's soccer, is because there is a power dynamic. So to go after the player, who is the person in the position of less power, is completely wrong. And to say that there was a different type of power dynamic because he wasn't determining if she was specifically in the starting lineup is absurd.
That was his defense.
Yeah.
That was his defense was, well, she's not playing, so therefore it's fine. And no, Willie Kirk, no, it's not. Overall, I think this article is dangerous. I don't think he should have been given a platform like this. Like, if you wanted to get this out, there is enough, like, open letters and notes app notes and everything else that other people have done that you could have done. I think a national newspaper giving him this platform is dangerous. And I don't want to go after the reporter, and I don't think anybody should go after the reporter. I know she's been given grief. But as a seasoned reporter, you should have triple check this. This has gone through a reporter, a sub-editor, an editor to get printed. And the fact nobody picked up on the dangerous element of this article, because he's not going to get the grief. He's not going to get, you know, half of what the perceived player is going to. And it's just dangerous, dangerous, dangerous.
Do you think he's going to work in the women's game again? He was asked that in the article. He said he doesn't want to move to the men's game. He's been in the women's game for a very long time. He doesn't want to feel like he's starting anew in the men's game. And he hopes somebody will hire him and essentially, like, look past this, quote, misstep. Do you think he will work in the women's game again?
My hope is no. You look at Mark Sampson, who was the England manager with the Racegate, with Eni Aluko and Drew Spence and Leanne Sanderson, and he never has worked in the women's game. He went to the men's game, so you would hope he won't. But you look at Jorge Vilda, who has all these accusations, all of these allegations, like the Spanish Federation as a whole was a complete shower, and he's gone straight into a job in Morocco. So I don't know. I hope that the FA does ban him, and they probably will ban him for a period of time. Whether they'll permanently ban him, I don't know. But then what's to say that a French team doesn't pick him up, a Spanish team pick him up?
I can say this. He certainly won't work in the WSL in the near future because the amount of negative press that would give a team is just simply not worth having him on, despite the fact that he did really bring Leicester from the bottom to the middle, which is hard to do in the WSL. The final grief that I really have with this is that part of his defense was essentially like, this is happening everywhere, I just happen to be caught, is what he was really saying, in kind of like his defense of why he shouldn't be punished so harshly. And first of all, unfortunately, we do know that. Unfortunately, he did just confirm that. And second of all, what a terrible thing to say. Like, you can't recognize that it's bad and then also use that as a defense for you to not be punished that harshly. It's just hypocritical.
Yeah, there is no more to say on it, really. I mean, read it if you want to, but don't
read it.
It's not
it wasn't worth my time.
It's really not worth the 5 minutes that
it really wasn't
to read it. It was Willie Kirk's pity party.
That's it. It was like, there was nothing that was said that we did not just summarize. I promise you that. All right, let's get on to something more positive. The FA Cup final happened this weekend. There was no WSL, and that is because Manchester United and Tottenham played at Wembley. It was Tottenham's first appearance in a women's FA Cup final. It was United's second appearance in an FA Cup final, but no matter what, we were going to have a brand new victor. And we do. Manchester United won a whopping 4-0 at Wembley versus the Spurs. Manchester United are your FA Cup champions. Congratulations, United, and all United fans. Frankly, my first thought about this was deserved. Well deserved by United. They earned this. It's been a long time coming for them.
No, absolutely. And just quickly before we get into the chat, just in another segment of Do Better, it's worth noting that Daniel Levy, who is the Spurs owner, was there to cheer on his team. However, the majority stakeholder, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, was not at the Wembley to watch Manchester United, but instead decided to go watch the men's team in quite a non-consequential league game, which they ended up losing. So, do better.
Listen, even as somebody who doesn't follow literally any of men's soccer anymore, even I knew that was a non-consequential league game for the men. That's saying something.
Exactly.
Okay, but let's get into it. Let's talk about this game because honestly, I thought this was going to be a closer game. I thought we were going to see maybe even overtime. I thought this was going to be a battle to the end. I love how United and Tottenham match up. I love that this was both of them battling for their first FA Cup championship, but it was United all the way. So let's get into it, and maybe let's just break it down team by team. Let's start with United, Allie.
So the thing is, it was even. For like the first 45 minutes, I would say it was even. Both teams had opportunities. Maybe you could argue that Man United was the slightly better team because they had more opportunities towards goal, but the Spurs defence was really breaking them down. Becky Spencer made some insane saves, especially off of Rach Williams' headers. Tooney had a few shots that she palmed away, and also they had a few shots that they just skied. But I would say it was pretty even. Beth England, Martha Thomas had some great chances first half. Not really anything really to trouble Mary Earps, but it was, dangerous. They were threatening. You could see it coming, and you could see that both teams were sort of playing to the halftime whistle. So we had extra time because it got so hot they had to have a water break. Got to 27 degrees in London. So they had a water break, which meant that 3 minutes was added on in extra time. So I would say that both teams were, to that point, were playing to keep it even until halftime. And then Ella Toon turns up. And
I was texting with our resident Manchester United fan, Amy,
Yeah.
who, by the way, I really wanted to bring on here, but I got wrapped up in a family vacation. And Amy, I'm so sorry. But I'm going to quote you in your text and say, Tooney loves a Wembley goal. And she does.
It's true. She absolutely does. And it was a slight Tottenham defensive error that got the ball in the midfield, and she just ran with it. She just went for it, scored an absolute worldie. Becky Spencer was never getting a hand on that. And Man United go in 1-0.
Yeah.
How many times, I was going to say, how many times have we said that?
Go for it. Say it.
That if you go in 1-0 up, or if you go down 1-0 up before halftime, the mentality change is massive.
Especially, specifically, I will say, with a late goal, like a 45th minute goal, or passed into stoppage time. I will say, United won 4-0 versus Tottenham. And the key statistic here, if you're looking at the official stats, you look at the shots, 21 to United, 10 to Tottenham. That tells a bit of a story. Look at shots on target, 8 for United, 0 for Tottenham. You are not going to win a game with zero shots on target.
Yeah, it was a quiet day for Mary Earps, let's just say that. Like, she had very little to do apart from the goal kicks from...
I've got to say, I said this was well-deserved by Manchester United, and I think that maybe could come off wrong because obviously Tottenham have been in the WSL for longer. They've been fighting, technically, for this for a little bit longer in terms of the club's investment in their women's team. But the reality is here, when United decided to invest in their women's team, it was 0 to 100. And Tottenham have been very slowly stepping up, slowly but surely, sometimes a couple steps up, 3 steps back, that kind of thing. And this year it's been something new. United have been now truly vying for Champions League as contenders for those top 3 spots for a couple years, maybe 2 to 3. And the fact that they don't have a lot of hardware to show for that says something. So for me, that's why I say, I think based on this game, based on how United played, based on this, how much they have really been making a dent in those top spots of the WSL, I'm happy to see them get this. I really am. I mean, I would have been happy either way, but I am happy to see them lift this trophy. I think it's well-deserved. And like you said, I'm happy for Mary Earps. I'm happy for a lot of those players who've been there for the long haul.
Yeah, so that's a good segue. Let's talk about Man United, because I think one of the biggest things was that Mark Skinner got his lineup right from the off. You know, some of us were a bit like, why is he not putting Hayley Ladd in? Why is he not, putting X, Y, and Z in to start? But to start with, he got his lineup right. And I'm going to shout out one player particularly. Everybody played amazingly, but one player in particular was Jade Riviere. She is phenomenal. She is a Canadian talent, for anybody who doesn't know. She's been out with some niggles and some injuries, but she was back in full force, reinforcing that back line. The amount of last-minute tackles she did, like beautiful, precise, clean tackles to get the ball out off of Beth England, out of Martha Thomas, out of Jessica Naz, who we've spoken so highly about in previous episodes. She nullified them, and Tottenham had no one else to go for because she was just taking them out every time. She is one of the main reasons why they have 0 shots on target, because she was taking them out time after time. It was beautiful to see how she played.
It just wasn't Tottenham's time. The final note on United is a player that I think we've mentioned quite a few times, and usually it's somebody that we mention after they score a game-winning goal coming on in the 85th minute. Let's talk about Rachel Williams for a moment in this game.
Let's talk about Rachel Williams, because she had 2 great chances in the first half. She says it herself, she goes, as a striker, you tend to have 2 chances, and if you can't score either of them, then this is not your game. She had 2 great chances and scored her third.
So the third wasn't a great chance?
No, the thing is, the third goal was basically a repeat of her first 2 chances, and you'd think Tottenham would have learned. Is the honest answer, because it came from a set piece. It was a free kick. Zellum doing Zellum things, booted the ball into the area. Rach Williams was the highest head that rose up, and it went into the bottom corner. Nobody was marking Rach Williams. Nobody. There was no players on her. They were all too focused on other players around there, which I do think they were trying to pull apart players, but having seen how many goals Rach Williams scores with her head, you think you'd have a player on her.
I honestly think that sums up the game for Tottenham pretty perfectly, that it just wasn't their time. And hopefully their time is soon to come, maybe even next year. But I think the final question that we need to end on is one about Manchester United's coach, Mark Skinner, because we've spoken about him. And if you look at the WSL record alone this past season, it truly is not a record, nor has their play on the field been indicative of him, frankly, being worthy of coaching them again next year. And I truly believe that. But then you get some hardware. Will this win alone save Mark Skinner's job?
I'm going to be honest, and please, Man United fans, don't hate me, but I think your board cares so little for your women's team that they will go, yeah, he's won something. All right, let's give him a new contract. They're not going to look at the amount of players that have come out and said, we don't want to play for him anymore. The amount of players they've lost, I'm thinking of Jackie Gronin, I'm thinking of Anna Battier, I'm thinking of so many players that they've lost because of him. You look at the difference. His second in command, Martin, is currently the coach at SK Brann. And look at the difference they're doing. Look at how they are tearing it up in their league. He doesn't have the best track record when it comes to coaching. I'm thinking of Birmingham City. I'm thinking of Orlando Pride. He doesn't have that best track record. The sad thing is, I do think this will save his career at Man United because their board cares so little to try and find someone else. They'll go, you want us hardware, and that be that.
I think it's that combined with what we've spoken about on some episodes already this entire WSL season, which is the fact that there is a lack of quality top coaches in the women's league. And if you're going to fire Mark Skinner, you've got to replace him with somebody. And who is that going to be? And I think the two combined, I think he's coming back next year. Let's go around the world. Around the world, around the world.
To Scotland, and a vital win for Rangers keeps them level on points with current league leaders Celtic. At the bottom of the table, just one goal separates the bottom two teams in their fight for relegation.
Over to Mexico, we have our first semi-finalist for La Liga MX playoffs. Pachuca will face off against the third place team, whereas America will take the first place team on. The other two will be decided on Wednesday, in other words, today when this episode is dropping.
And finally to France, the weekend saw the championship semi-finals take place. Lyon cruised to the final with a 6-0 win over Reims. PSG, however, had a much tougher battle against Paris FC. It was 2-2 in regular time. They took it to penalties, and the home side, PSG, won it 5-4.
Have you checked out Total Football Analysis yet? TotalFootballAnalysis.com provides research analysis on loads of football, including the women's game. Want all the stats in one place instead of drowning in a mountain of tabs? Want to explore key matchups and the tactics from both teams? Total Football Analysis provides the stats and analysis to help you learn more about the beautiful game. We have a special discount for listeners of the Women's Soccer Show. At checkout, type WOSO10 to get a full year for just €10. That's €40 of the yearly subscription. Head over to TotalFootballAnalysis.com and type WOSO10 at checkout.
Over to the NWSL. A team we haven't really got to discuss since the start of this season, my new beloved Gotham FC. The team that made the most headline signings in the off-season hasn't really found their groove just yet. What exactly is going on with them? Come on, Sarah. They're your ex-home team. What's going on?
Let's do it. I'm excited to be talking about them because before the season, I think we previewed all of the teams, but specifically when we talked about Gotham FC, I made a note about them being a super team. I mean, you look at the signings. They signed Rose Lavelle in the offseason, Tierna Davidson, Crystal Dunn, Emily Sonnet. Hard to not call them a super team. But the question that I was addressing before the season started was how will that work? And in my opinion, I was saying I don't think that it will. I was really convinced, however, before the season started, I spoke with their head coach, Juan Carlos Amorós, on a pregame conversation before the Challenge Cup. And it was really because of him and his answers. I was basically like, my faith in the system that he had created last year was reignited. And what I was really reminded of was that this team won the championship, not necessarily because of the personnel that they had, but because of the system that Juan Carlos Amorós and the culture that Juan Carlos Amorós created. So I was kind of convinced, but right now, it seems like the plight of the super team that we initially thought would happen is basically happening. They're disconnected. You look at their record right now. Gotham FC, having played 8 games, they're sitting in 7th place. 3 wins, 2 losses, 3 draws. Not necessarily the super team that everybody thought would come out here and absolutely smash the NWSL. However, this team can obviously not be ruled out. A, it's early in the season. B, they barely squeaked into the playoffs last year. They made a run and they won the championship. So to say that this is a completely different start to the season than what happened last year, which was their championship run, is incorrect. However, you look at the roster they have, and it's absolutely certain that they're underperforming in terms of points and wins based on who is on that team. No question.
No, 100%. And I do think their new super signing, Anne Katrin-Berger, I saw someone tweet that saying that she's played a couple of matches for them and already she's in line for being their player of the season. Like,
Dan Lauletta, the NWSL legend himself, journalist. Yeah, Anne Katrin-Berger has been huge, absolutely huge for Gotham FC. It's funny, you look at all of their score lines throughout this entire season, every single game, they haven't scored more than 1 goal per game, including that new Challenge Cup game that they played against San Diego Wave before the season even started. So that means that any game that they won, of those 3 games that they've won, they won 1-0. Everything else has either been a 1-1 draw or a 1-0 loss. So they're not necessarily helping Berger out all that much either. And for a team that signed, Crystal Dunn, who has in her past been a top goal scorer in the league in the NWSL. They signed Rose Lavelle, arguably one of the greatest play creators and goal scoring opportunity creators in the NWSL. To say that they've signed all of these people and they can only score 1 goal per game so far, statistically, that's what needs to change. It's not their defense, it's their offense.
Now over to Houston. And if I was a believer in karma, I believe that this game would have been a pinnacle
I would agree.
example of karma. And the karma is very much aimed at Angel City, who, let's give our listeners a little recap. They released the player over to Houston on a trade, the player being Paige Nilsson, who, let's be honest, with all of the social media and all of the interviews she's done, she didn't want to go to Houston. This was not an agreeable move for Ms. Nilsson, shall we say, but she's making it work. So this is the first time these teams have faced off against each other since that trade. And we were looking at a 0-0. Like, it wasn't, the most
truly
interesting of games, shall we say. It was, it was going to be a 0-0, which is great for both teams actually to get at least a point on the board because they're both having not the most auspicious starts to their league. And then in what I believe was the 98th minute?
Yep.
98th minute, Houston go up forward for one last attack. And who gets the ball in the back of the net? But Paige Nilsson.
Paige Nilsson herself. In front of her old Angel City crowd on her old home field. Yeah, that was quite a moment. But I think even bigger than the almost like revenge factor that comes with it is what she did after. And I think I want to talk about that because Paige Nilsson, she spoke so beautifully in the postgame about everything, and we'll come on to some of it, but partly what I want to note here is that she was really honest about how the move to Houston really slapped her in the face. You know, she did not know it was coming, and it was really hard to deal with. But this is a player that's now coming into Angel City. She scores off of a corner kick in the 98th minute, and she runs over to the bench, and you see Houston have this beautiful moment where the entire team, players on the field, players off the field, coaches, everybody come together and celebrate this win from this goal. And she spoke on the post game about it. And thank you to Theo Lloyd Hughes who posted this. We're going to play it for you right here because there's just no way to summarize it. She spoke so beautifully. Let's get into it.
I think these girls have been through a lot of coaching changes, GM, whatever. I've been through it with other clubs, and I kind of saw it when I came in, and you know, they were 13th place and going through a lot. So I really want to bring this togetherness in the team, and I think the energy level of the bench and everyone that has been working so hard is so important. And this is a long season, and we need every single person for the season. I wanted to, you know, I just wanted to rally the troops. I think it's one of my go-tos. I don't have like a best friend of the team yet. Usually I like look at them and point and but I just wanted to bring everyone together in that moment. If I just went to the people on the field, then the bench people would just be cheering, you know. But I wanted everyone to feel that and remember that moment so we can move forward from there.
So, after listening to that, do we feel like this is a turning point for Houston specifically?
I kind of do. Like, you hear her talk about it, and you hear her talk really about what these players have been through and the culture and how this team just needed to start fresh. And the fact that Houston got Paige Nielsen for $50,000 in allocation money and $50,000 in interleague transfer funds is a steal.
That's nothing.
This is...
Sorry, I didn't realize what her trade deals was. That's nothing.
Yeah, this is a player who's going to lead your back line. And not only that, if you just heard that audio, she's going to be the emotional core of your team. And she's been around, and she knows how to do this. And if I was on Houston, I would just hitch my wagon to Paige Nielsen right now and say, you lead and we'll follow, because clearly she knows how to turn something around. And I really think that, all credit to her, this might be a big turning point, and I really hope it is. And finally, let's talk Women's Super League, because, hold on tight, everybody. In 3 days, count them, 3 days, the final day of the WSL season will occur, and we will know what the result of this ever fascinating title race will be. But before we get into that, really quickly, regarding the WSL, we have to talk about some big news that just came out. Transfer news, Vivianne Miedema has announced that she's leaving Arsenal at the end of this season. Honestly, I'm shocked she stayed this long. I think we had this conversation 2 years ago that we thought she was going to leave. Give me your thoughts, Allie. Yeah. Where do you think she's going to go? Give me everything.
So the thing with Viv, I feel like, because there was rumors she was going 2 years ago. And there's rumors she was going to go to Barcelona, I believe, was where everybody thought she was. And she turned around and said...
Or France.
And she turned around and said, I want to win trophies with Arsenal. It will mean more to me to win trophies with Arsenal. And after she said that, what have they won? They've won the Conti Cup. And that's it. Like, which, no disrespect to the Conti Cup, it's hardware, it's silverware, but it's not the Champions League, is it? It's not
what she was referring to when she said she wanted to win trophies with Arsenal.
It's not the FA Cup. So, I hate to say they're getting on, but she's 27, which she's still got some peak career years left in her. So, it makes sense to me. She's never really fitted in Jonas's system. She was sort of playing in a false number 9. Somebody said a 9.5, like number 10 sort of thing behind Blackstenius, and then that tailed off. And then
she's also struggled with her ACL recovery. But
exactly.
Yeah, I would agree with that statement. I think that's a big statement you just made. She has never really fit in Jonas Eideffel's system. You think about her glory years at Arsenal, and it wasn't under Jonas.
It wasn't, no. It was under Joe. So it's never really fit. Now, in terms of where she's going to go, the big rumour that's coming out of the UK at the moment is that Manchester City have approached her. Now, I personally don't think that's a good fit for her, if I'm honest, because of the way Gareth Taylor plays. Gareth Taylor doesn't like two strikers. We saw this.
I was going to say, because of Bunny Shaw.
Yeah, because we saw what happened when Ellen White and Bunny Shaw were on the same team. He played one or the other. He never played them together, if like maybe once or twice. It was like he'd start Ellen, sub on Bunny. Start Bunny, sub on Ellen. He doesn't like to play two strike. He likes having a lone striker up front. Is she going to play that midfield number 10 role? Well, no, because you've got Lauren Hemp, who, you know, can do that, or she's on the wing. You've got Chloe Kelly that complains that. You've got Jess Park, who's coming into her own, that is coming into that. I don't see where she would fit in Man City. I think she would have the same problem she's currently having at Arsenal in this current Man City squad. And especially when Jill Rould comes back, Jill Rould plays that midfield, like, up front piece so beautifully, and is probably the reason why Man City are chasing for the title, even though she's been out for half the season. I don't see where Viv will fit.
It's such a hard one because my gut reaction is that I really can't see her at any WSL club except for Arsenal, but that might just be because she's been at Arsenal for so long. How can you picture her in another uniform? But I think it's also because she's been there. She's played her club in soccer in England for the entirety, really, of her prime years. And I really wouldn't be surprised if she wanted a change and a different type of challenge. So I'm gonna say I wouldn't be surprised to see her leave England.
I wouldn't be surprised either. And a lot of people are saying, oh, well, her girlfriend's in England. And I'm like, I'm telling you now, like, if she ended up in, like, say, Paris, Eurostar is only 2 hours. If she ended up in Barcelona, you can get a 2-hour flight from London to Barcelona. Like, I don't think Beth and her relationship is going to struggle if Viv is out of the country, to be honest. It will be easier for her to get to the continent than it is to parts of the UK, let's be honest.
A huge blow for Arsenal, though. I think we also need to talk about this. I mean, obviously, Arsenal really haven't had her this season, so it is a little bit of an easier transition, if you will, for the team, but still certainly somebody who needs to be replaced. And I'm curious what Arsenal will do. Okay, but let's get on to the final weekend preview here. We're going to preview this last weekend of the WSL, and what I love that the WSL does, that the NWSL did last year, and they won't be doing this year, is that the final day of games, everybody plays at the same time. It's just madness, it's chaos, it's everything. But before that day is the game that's happening today, Wednesday, when this episode drops, which is Chelsea versus Tottenham. And this is the game in hand that Chelsea had. Chelsea need to win this game. If they win this game, everything's even on points with City and everything comes down to that final day. If not, Chelsea's fate, not in their hands.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think before the FA Cup, I think a few people may have thought this would be a walkover game because Tottenham would be tired because obviously they've played this FA Cup game. I think this is going to give Tottenham such an energy that they're going to go into this game. Amy Turner-Jones did an interview after the FA Cup loss where she turned around and said, it's not just disheartening, this is embarrassing. Like, they were embarrassed by that result. And that is going to give them such a fire to prove something. You've also got the fact that they are London rivals. That always adds a spice to any game. So I think this could end up being another Liverpool-Chelsea. I'm calling it here. This could be another Liverpool-Chelsea.
I'd agree. And we have to just say, Chelsea as a whole have a harder road right now to the title. Because even if they do win this game against Tottenham, their final day, they're playing Manchester United at Manchester United. With United having just come off the FA Cup final win, they're going to be rolling. City, on the other hand, don't have a game in hand, of course, and they have just one game to play as opposed to Chelsea's Wednesday-Saturday game. City are just playing the singular Saturday game. They will be at Aston Villa. That's not to be discounted, though. It's not. It's really not. But it's definitely not as difficult as a Tottenham United Wednesday-Saturday combination. Okay, let's talk final day preview, because obviously the big piece that's on the line right now is the title. But I think we've set up how that's going to go, and now we just have to sit and wait and see. So let's do a quick run through of every game that will happen this final Saturday, and a quick preview of each game. So let's do it. First and foremost, let's kick it off with Arsenal versus Brighton. Allie, quick preview on this game. Hit me.
Gonna be honest, not got much consequence. It's basically Viv's last game in an Arsenal shirt, and that's gonna be the talking point.
That's true. I mean, Brighton would love to come out on top, obviously. Brighton, another season where it's just like,
Almost.
can we, not even almost, just can we make a few more changes? Can we try to get to the middle of the table here? Mike, we're going to need to bring you back on to talk Brighton at some point very soon. All right, next, we alluded to it. Let's talk about it. Aston Villa versus Manchester City.
So Manchester City need to win this game, and they have to hope that Man United beat Chelsea, or that they will beat Villa by more goals than Chelsea will beat Man United. Villa don't really have any horse in this race. They finished 7th regardless. They can't go up, they can't go down. That's just where they be. Which I would say is an equally disappointing season for Villa. We've talked about Man United's season being disappointing. I will say that finishing 7th when they got up to 5th for Villa is a disappointing season for Villa.
How much does it really light a fire under a team that doesn't have anything to play for in that final game? I think it kind of ignites a team to be like, oh, this is something to play for. We can upset your title hopes. Let's do it. I think there's something to be said for that.
Absolutely. I remember a couple of seasons ago, and you messaged me because West Ham were playing Arsenal on the final game, and it was going to come down to between Arsenal and Chelsea, and you messaged me and went, why is West Ham going so hard? They don't have anything to win for.
I was like, calm down. All right, let's do it. Bristol City versus Everton. Whew. This is a sad one, everybody. Listen, if you're going to pick a game, I'm so sorry, I wouldn't pick this one.
I was going to say, it's a sad game. It's Everton could possibly go up a couple of places if they win. Bristol are already relegated. It's a sending off for Bristol for their final game in the WSL for now, Bristol City. But to be honest, it's another game without much consequence. You know, unless you're a fan of either the team, it's not going to be fun for a neutral.
We talked about Bristol City's attendance and how incredible the fans have been and continue to show up week in and week out. And I certainly hope, obviously this game is being played at Bristol City, I hope they show up for that final WSL game for now. Bristol City, don't worry. I think we'll see you back here. Next, Leicester City versus Liverpool. This is going to be a fun one to close on. I'm excited for this one.
This one's going to be a fun one. This one, I would say, is going to be the game for a neutral if you don't care about the title race. Because a win for Liverpool means they have cemented 4th. They are 4th. Like, this is the highest position they've reached since they've won.
Over United.
Exactly. And anybody in the UK knows that the rivalry between Man United and Liverpool is massive. It is huge. So they've done the double over Man United as well, which is a massive achievement for Liverpool. And yeah, so if they win against Leicester, they cement 4th for themselves, whereas Leicester could go as far up as 8th if they beat Liverpool. So this game has got some jeopardy that has nothing to do with the title race and nothing to do with relegation. So if you're a neutral, I would probably plug into that one.
All right, second to last, we already talked about it, but we got to say it again. Manchester United versus Chelsea. This is the game I'm going to have on, provided Chelsea win on Wednesday, which is a big provided.
Yeah. So as we said, it's a crucial match. Chelsea will need to win this if to have the hopes of claiming another title. Man United, if they win and Liverpool lose, they will go 4th because they have a significantly better goal difference right now. So, and that would be, again, not a great season for them, but it would keep them consistent because they've been 4th apart from the fluke 2nd last season, as it seems, with the thing they would have been 4th. So that would have kept them on the status quo as well as an FA Cup. So it's going to be tasty because Chelsea are going to want revenge for knocking them out the FA Cup. Let's be honest.
And finally, We didn't save it for last because it's your team. We saved it for last because we just went alphabetically.
Yes, we did.
Hadn't caught on. That's what we did. Finally, Tottenham versus West Ham.
I'm going to be honest, even though this is my team and this is the game I'm going to be watching because I'm there, it's another game of no real consequences. Tottenham will be finishing middle of the table regardless. West Ham will have clung on for another season, just surviving relegation. It'll be nice if we can beat our rivals. It's another London rivalry game. But, you know, the real highlight is I get to go to a new stadium. I've not been to White Hart Lane before, so I get to tick that off my list.
All right, everybody, the final day of WSL 2023 to 2024 season is Saturday. That is Saturday. All of the games kick off at, I'm doing some quick math right here, 3 p.m. UK time. That is 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. You're welcome, everybody. And of course, if you're listening today, Wednesday, when this episode drops, you got to turn on Tottenham hosting Chelsea because that's going to inform everything for the final weekend. That is being played at 8:15 p.m. UK time, which is, this is probably not fun to hear me do the math. You do it. 8 p.m. UK time. US listeners, you go ahead and do that math.
And to shout out to my UK listeners, it is on BBC. So that means it will not be on the FA Player for UK viewers. It is on BBC 4, which you guys can get, most TVs can get, but it just means for UK viewers, it will not be on FA Player.
US listeners, I can't help you. We gotta wait until game time like we always do. It might be on FA Player, it might be on Paramount Plus, it might be on CBS Sportsnet, and it might be on... No, those are probably the options. Those are the options, people. Check all three. And that is it for us here at the Women's Soccer Show. A reminder, as always, to head over to our Patreon, patreon.com/TheWoso Show. We had a new Fits and Kits episode go up last week. Of course, there's always Using 10 every week. And just some more good stuff from us and some warm in your heart that you're supporting independent journalism. And as always, I've been Sarah.
I've been Allie.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
This podcast was edited by Monkey Hill Media. Visit monkeyhillmedia.com for more information.